Over the past 2 years, the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted nearly every facet of learning. Many community colleges and universities in the U.S. saw a steep decline in enrollment as students weighed their options. Some chose to defer by a year or forego college entirely and jump directly into the workforce. But now that life is getting back to a closer normal, experts are wondering, will enrollment numbers bounce back post-pandemic? What needs to change to get more students in the door? Dr. Deb Geller is an expert in higher education and says that the steep price of a degree continues to be a big deterrent. Across her career, Geller has seen tuitions and fees steadily tick upwards. For almost 30 years, she was the Associate Dean of Students at the University of California, Los Angeles.
As the economy has impacted state budgets, legislatures in many states are reducing their funding of higher education. Some are focusing their resources on community college rather than four-year schools. Others are reducing their support of higher education entirely.
And reduced funding is just one factor feeding into higher tuition rates. But the end result leaves students with few options but to take on debt.
Students were graduating on average with tens of thousands of dollars of debt and finding challenges gaining employment at a salary that would enable them to pay off their debt and move forward, making meaningful progress.
It's hard to hit milestones in life like buying a house or starting a family if you're saddled with tens of thousands of dollars in student loans. With more media attention on the student loan crisis in recent years, more Americans are asking, is the value of college really worth getting so deep in debt? Geller believes higher education is still worth it in the long term. While it's currently a workers' economy with plenty of openings and good wages, experts say that this will not always be the case. A degree gives stability, options, and a leg up when competing for a job.
There's such value over a lifetime to having that four-year degree. We still see when we do salary studies that there is a huge difference over a lifetime in earning capacity of the average individual with a four-year degree over the average individual without. That's not to say there aren't some individuals who are the unicorns. They have an incredible talent or skill, and they enter the workforce without a college education, do exceptionally well, have a wonderful income. But by and large, when we look at the averages, there is a huge difference in earning over a lifetime for those who do have the four-year education.
However, before jumping into a four-year university, it's important to do your research beforehand. The traditional route may not be the best for everyone, and that's okay.
Many of our high school students are super achievers who do very well in high school, know what they want to do with their lives, and are ready to go straight to college and be incredibly successful. Others at 17 and 18 haven't quite figured out what it is they want to do with their life. Taking time to figure out what their passions are, what their strengths are, and then to seek the type of education, whether it's college or a trade school or a boot camp program or an on-the-job internship or apprenticeship, in order to prepare themselves for that particular field, is a great option for those who aren't coming out of high school knowing exactly what they want to do.
Dr. Anthony Carnevale argues that there needs to be more guidance and greater access to information about different colleges and programs. This would help high school students make more informed decisions. Carnevale is a research professor and the director of the Georgetown University Center on Education and the Workforce.
There is no career counseling system in America. It just doesn't exist. And to the extent it does exist, it doesn't use any of this data. I mean, we're absolutely bereft of career counseling in the American education system. And the other problem is, at some point, the government, I suspect, although this will take some courage, is going to have to mandate that we give the information to the students. Now, when do we give the information to the students? Well, high school's ideal because they haven't chosen a college yet or a program yet to go to in a college or a training operation. It's trickier in post-secondary institutions. If I'm a college, why am I going to sell anything that isn't on my shelf? I'm not going to tell people about the college down the road that has the same program I do, only it gets you better jobs and better earnings. I'm not going to do that. I'd have to be crazy. So there's a dilemma here as to how we get this information to young people in ways that allow them to think seriously about planning their education and career pathway.
Carnevale agrees with Geller that higher education is still worth the investment. However, he says it's vital to weigh all of the options out there before making a decision.
It is a complicated system now. One of the aspects of it that people aren't really attuned to yet, but is very real, is it matters less and less how much education you get after high school. Although in general, on average, the more years of education you get, the more money you make. A 4-year degree makes more than a 2-year degree. The graduate degree on average makes more than the 4-year degree, and so on, as you'd expect, like in the old days. But the bottom line now is that it's the program that counts, not the college so much. Now what you take determines what you make, not so much which college you go to and which level of college you attain.
And even if wages aren't the most important element, the data can provide valuable insight into graduation rates, better programs for a major, and other factors. Carnevale says that a big challenge is how to get this information into the hands of all students across all socioeconomic levels. On top of information transparency, there needs to be trained staff at the high school level that can give a more comprehensive view of what major or career to pursue.
If you look at the programs they go through to become guidance counselors, there's no labor market training involved. There is for a few. Some places have a course here and a course there. But we live in a world now where if you're going to make your way after you graduate from high school, the first thing you need is at least some college. So it's a world, we have not built the institutions that allow young people to find their way through that maze of choices.
Carnevale says that so often career navigation in high school focuses only on a student's personality or interests. However, there are so many other aspects that should be considered.
Good counseling always starts not with a job or a career. It begins with the person. And you do want to know what that person's work values are, what their work interests are, what their personality suits them to. But ultimately, you've got to connect that to knowledge, skill, and ability that, for the most part, you get in post-secondary institutions now. So it's a big system that's missing. I mean, there is something of a personal touch in counseling, say in high schools now, but it doesn't tell you anything about what you want to do with your life or what the possibilities are, which colleges or programs within 50 miles of home, which is the average distance most people won't exceed going to a post-secondary institution. They'll most all go within 50 miles of home. So what's close by that gets you what you want? Well, nobody's telling, and everybody knows.
And many times students can feel that a 4-year university is the only respectable option for post-secondary school. Yet there are many benefits to staying close to home and saving money at a community college.
We see that those who go to a community college first are able to complete some of their general education requirements and save some money while they're building that sense of maturity, improving their study skills, identifying their passions. And when they transfer to a 4-year school, they are doing every bit as well as native freshmen do, graduating with strong completion rates, just as native freshmen do.
And if pursuing a degree after high school is not part of the plan, that's okay too.
For those who take time away and realize that college is not the right answer for them, it gives them that opportunity to find their right path. I feel strongly that while college should be an option for anyone who wants it, it is not the right answer for everyone. And for those for whom it's not the path, we need to respect that choice when they choose to follow a different path.
For the millions who have decided to pursue a career, it's an experience like no other. Looking ahead to when students return to college campuses this fall, what's next? What will the return back to school bring?
My prediction is that at our most competitive colleges and universities, there is going to be as much crowding as ever. Our students are going to be back in great numbers. They're going to be applying to more schools, but choosing from many options. And so we're going to see them returning to that in-person college life experience, really getting to experience for the first time in several years now, that full outside of the classroom experience, in addition to the strong academic program of their chosen school. However, we're going to see at some of the less competitive, higher priced institutions a challenge filling their entering class. So we need to do more to make education affordable so that the schools that are not as competitive have a way to appeal to the students who are looking for the college experience.
To find out more about this topic and our guests, Dr. Anthony Carnevale and Dr. Deb Geller, visit viewpointsradio.org. You can get more information on any post-secondary institution by looking at their college scorecard powered by the U.S. Department of Education. Head to collegescorecard.ed.gov to search by schools or the field of study. This segment was written and produced by Amira Zaveri. I'm Gary Price. Coming up on Viewpoints.
And I hope that now that Americans have gotten more used to wearing masks, that we will also consider wearing these during periods of high rates of flus and colds.
The benefits of face coverings past COVID. Then,
according to some studies, the McDonald's arches are more recognizable worldwide than the Christian cross.
The global appeal of the fast food chains we frequent and love. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.